Mrs. Cleveland,
Here.
Mrs. Wider,
Here.
Dr. Hawkins,
Here.
Mrs. Moore, Mr. Simons.
Present.
Thank you. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have an approval of the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Oh, go ahead, Mary.
It has been moved and second. Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Mrs. Wider,
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore, Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Any visitors? Mr. Burton?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We do have several recognitions, so Mr. Burton, we will have you lead us off on that.
Yes, we have several, and this is a great evening, there's no question. So just for everybody in attendance, we will be recognizing our great retirees who have given selflessly to the Princeton City School District. We're also going to recognize a slew of student athletes who participated in, placed in state competitions, which is fantastic. We're going to recognize a wonderful program you guys have probably heard a lot about called Youth Built Change. We're going to call up one of our awesome teachers to talk a little bit about that and recognize some of the great work that's right behind the Board of Education that was done through an action research program. We're also going to recognize one of our teachers for a great leadership award, and also some of our amazing staff members who completed their 4-year resident educator program. So buckle up, there's going to be quite a few up here. So Dr. Phillips, you can come on up here. I'd like all the retirees, if you can, to go stage right, or my right, your left. My left, your right, excuse me. They're going to confuse people if you can. So first retiree is Stephen Coleman. Steve Coleman is going to come up here. He's amazing and has done a great job. Filled lots of roles in the school district, but Stephen, we're going to, can you give us Dr. Phillips, please? Thank you. Our next retiree is Robin Nguyen. Robin, again, served lots of different capacities in the district. Thank you so much for your selfless giving. And we are going to ask all the retirees to stand here so we could take a wonderful picture. Mr. Coleman, if you could stand right here, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. Mary Vargo.
How are you? Oh, good.
Yeah, let's give everybody a round of applause for sure, right? Thank you. Thank you. Tamara Miller, Tammy Miller, come on up.
Hi, how are you doing? Oh, so congratulations. Congratulations.
And round 2 on retirements, Dennis Simpson.
Hey, how you doing? Congratulations. I know. Congratulations.
And as they're finishing shaking hands, right before we take this picture, wanted to say that in all their years of working selflessly and giving so much to the Princeton City School District and other districts as well, but let's be honest, it's about Princeton. The reality is they never saw a year and a half like they experienced. Never. And I tell you, it's something that we all learned, we all got better and stronger from, but again, it didn't stop them by working hard and doing so much. So we certainly appreciate the great effort and for what you did to help build our youth, to help your colleagues, and push administrators and boards to continue to advocate as we do for students. So Board of Education and Treasurer Petter, if you can coming up here. Just let's go right, we could just stay right here. Tricia, is that a good picture right here? Okay.
What are we doing?
Yes, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Standing ovation. Let's go. Thank you. And I'm going to ask the Board of Education, before they get too far, just to stand up right in front of your seats right here, because you'll be going back and forth all night long. Thank you. We're going to move right to our track and field right now, our girls and boys. So if I could have Coach Braddock and Coach and the girls come on up while I talk in front of you. So to say that we had a great year would be an understatement. But what's amazing is I told Coach Braddock that we had a lot going on, so we're going to be real brief. And he said, good, because he has girls in the weight room right now training for next year. And that is a mark of excellence. It's consistently when people are sleeping, when they're resting, when they're taking time off. That's not what's happening with our girls' track program. We so appreciate that. I did not see Madison, but Madison Rochelle, she ended up, she was second place in the state long jump, second place, which is amazing. She long jump 19.1, her high was 19.3. And the only person that could beat her was a young lady who won the long jump, won the 100, won the 200, and won the 400 from one school. She actually won the state. Then she coached. She scored 40 points, which is more than any other team scored. But that's what it took to beat Madison Rochelle. So Madison, congratulations. Kiana Dexter placed 8th in the 800-meter dash. And I'm going to call this next group of 4 up here because they finished 3rd place in the 4x1 and 4th place in the 4x2. Shavaz, Reese, Madison, and Isabella, come on up. I know you're so excited. We also have other members of the state track team as well for the girls. Jade, Grace Adams, Isabella is up here, Reese is up here, Shavaz, Madison, Kiera, Melanie Kessler, Kanea, and also, I think, do we have everybody there, Coach? Yes. Okay. Coach, do you want to say one word right before we take this great picture?
I'm very proud of these young ladies coming off of a year that we didn't have any track and field. Being able to come back focused and get all the way to winning regionals and 6th place and the highest finish of any team out of Cincinnati at the state meet. It's very commendable. So I'm very proud of the way they worked for that.
So right before we call up Coach Smith, I saw him up here. So Coach, if you can come this way, let me give you the certificates. I didn't want people to miss what Coach Braddock said. 6th place in the state of Ohio, 6th place. They finished highest in Cincinnati, highest GMC, obviously. We're so very proud. And for the girls coming back, here's what I love. You guys have running tomorrow, lifting the next day. You have to go in the pool and swim. Coach Braddock has you. Listen to what he says, and let's bring home some state championships. Coach, right up there if you can. So the boys, not to be outdone, but the boys, we had quite a year as well, and very excited. This young man, Lamont, come on up here. Lamont Jackson, first year track, got bored. Mom and Dad, he got bored. You're like, get out of the house. You got to do something. So Lamont did nothing except for win the Greater Miami Conference Boys and Field Athlete of the Year 2021. Also competed in the state track meet as well. Congratulations, Lamont. And this young man, you guys have heard a lot about already. Makai Lynn, who's does another sport too, but we're not talking about football, Makai. We're talking about the fact you finished 8th in the 200-meter dash. Congratulations to the state championship. And as Makai is coming up here, I believe you only have one other member of the 4x1 relay team which set the record for the GMC, which I believe was a while. Coach, we broke a record, Coach Smith, we broke a record that was existing for a little bit, right?
I didn't even know it was a record. I didn't even know, until they announced it, so.
Yeah, well, it was incredible, and I'm going to embarrass Makai, but TJ is here, so TJ coming up here as well. TJ Engelman. And I don't think the other two snuck in here. So, okay. That was Kobe and Leroy Bowers. So, again, congratulations to them. But I want to say one thing just to kind of geek out while TJ's coming across the stage. You know, the 4x1 team, when you think about this, there's typically always one runner that is sub 12. There's always one run, 12 seconds. There's always one runner that is absolutely head and shoulders faster than anybody. This team, they did not have one runner that ran under a 12 second. So you guys know 11, 12. 12, right? Yes, 12 seconds. So when you look at this, it's just simply amazing. They ran a 43.88, Coach? 41.88 to set a record, and big things from 2 of the 3. Lamont, I know you graduated and you're excited to take on the next step, but let's get a picture with all them, the boys state track team and record holders. And when I asked the boys, when I looked up, it was 12 seconds or 11 seconds. Makai looked at me and said, I don't know, I just run fast. It was 11 seconds. Well, the awards keep going, and this is what's so amazing. We're going to call up 3 great water polo players, 3 All-Ohio, 2 second team in the 3rd place, Bryn Good, Shania Stone, and Naomi Russ. Come on up here. Congratulations. There you go. Water polo player, Susan Wider. So Naomi's going to wave real quick. Third team, All-State, which is amazing. It's tough sport. If you guys never seen it, it's amazing. Shania's second team and Bren's second team. So again, let's give them one more round of applause. Well, even though girls are better than boys, the boys certainly did their very best to have 3 All-State water polo players, and they did. So Edward M., Kyle McDaniel, and A.J. White coming up if you can. So there's lots of conflicts that goes on, but let me tell you about Edward M. was first team All-Ohio, and really was a huge player for us for sure. Kyle McDaniel was first team All-Ohio and also won the Goalie of the Year award, right? For sure, big applause. And A.J. White finished third team All-Ohio. So Kyle and AJ had previous engagements, so sorry they weren't able to be here tonight. But what I'd like to do is, we're going to take a picture with Edward M. here in a second, but I'd like to call up all the other state second place, state runner-up. Coach Tamara's coming up here too, and the rest of the water polo boys coming up here. You got to stay right there. You got to stay right there. Boys, filter in while I talk in front of you. So Coach Tamaris is no stranger to board meetings. He set the record for most amount of wins, got some big achievements, no question. Over 100 wins at Princeton, several hundred overall. Coach Tamaris, it's 1985, I believe. 1985 was the last time that Princeton water polo played in the state championship game. Coach, you did a great job. You worked very, very hard. Obviously, the kids did a great job, certainly rose to the occasion. I will tell you that the best game I've ever seen in general was against Upper Arlington. Now, I didn't say sport. The best game I've ever seen was against Upper Arlington, because these boys, and they're probably going to smile, at least one of the kids probably going to get mad at me for saying this, but they never beat Upper Arlington. And the majority of the time, it wasn't even close. However, the game before the state semifinals, they tied 7-7. And they felt like they left something on the board. And they did, because they had opportunities to win. And this is a great metaphor to life. I'm not saying they choked, because they didn't, but they wasted some opportunities. The next time they played Upper Arlington, it wasn't even a competition. We jumped off right away. We beat them solidly. And again, first time since 1985, playing the state championship game. We lost a hard-fought game to a very talented team. But, Coach, congratulations, all the great things that you've done over the years, and we appreciate the fact you're going to be back for more, and let's get it done next year. Our state runner-up, state of Ohio runner-up, boys water polo team. Let's take a picture right there. Come on, Coach, get down in there. There you go. Commitment, just like a school board. All right. And perhaps the most, I mean, we're so proud of our athletes, there's no question. They've done a great job. This Youth Built Change program is something that has been literally built from ground up. We were asked a couple years ago, Ms. Heckman, and boys, you guys want to come on up. Mrs. Heckman was involved writing a grant with the University of Cincinnati, the National Institute of Health, and another school in Adams County. And when you think about the great work that it takes to get a multi-million-dollar grant, actually, it was something that was incredible. But that's not the power of it. Ms. Heckman?
Thank you. Yeah, kind of humbled to talk about this and the students. Honestly, a lot of the athletes that you've seen tonight were part of Youth Built Change during their junior year. It is a class that is offered only to juniors at Princeton High School and juniors also at Manchester High School in Adams County. It is a community-based action research class where the students throughout the year dealing with the problem of substance abuse in their community find their own question, something that they are passionate about. They come up with a prediction as to what answer they think they might find. They figure out what research method they're going to use after they've been pummeled with all the different kinds of research methods there are. They decide which one is going to work best for them. They conduct their research. They collect their data. They organize it. They present it, as you can see on the posters that are displayed behind the board. And then typically, and this has actually only happened 1 year in the 3 that we've had the Youth Built Change program, they go to UC and they present their results to all of their stakeholders, and the board and central office and our administration are also invited to that. The last 2 years, it's been a virtual presentation because that's the only way UC's been able to get it organized. This year, we did the entire class virtually. We had 2 students who were remote learners the entire year. Ishan is one of our students who was a remote student for the first half of the year, and then he joined us back in the second semester. David was an in-person student with me all year, but still did the hybrid thing, so we had kids at home, kids in the classroom, kids always at home, and they still came together and did their research and were able to present their findings to the community, and they did a fantastic job. We've had all of our sports athletes recognized here tonight. David and Ishan's project was about mental health in sports and how being part of that team, and I believe this is what you found, a lot of the people who were part of the teams felt like that helped their mental health and kept them from substance abuse. In a nutshell? Yeah. I know it was a year-long project, and I said it in a sentence. And they did that because that came from their hearts. All 4 members, Cole Walker, Ishan, David, and Jack Betts, were all athletes. And so this was something that they were passionate about, and it's a huge privilege to get to help the kids through this research process and have them find these things out. And it's stuff that they want to know. And you know, so many times we're dictated with state curriculum and this and AP and IB, and this is where they felt passionate, and I got to help direct that. And that's, they do the work, and then I go, yay, at the end of it, so.
Well, Ms. Heckman, I know you're a very humble person. Your influence has been significant.
Thank you.
Yours and also another teacher, Kate Lamke,
Yes.
helped and supported as well. And you know, when we talk about empowering each student for college, career, and life success, this is that empowerment that we talk about. The other thing is, too, you know, as things go, this hasn't always been an easy road. We had to overcome some obstacles, jump over some hurdles, but the fact that 3 years we're still here and it's such a huge impact for our students, it's great. So Becky and gentlemen, great job. And let's take a picture with the board. You know, I'm certainly not opposed to say things, whether it's a little bit off script or just blatantly honest. So I'm going to tell you, the other day I was talking to a colleague of mine, superintendent colleague of mine, and I told him about tonight and how excited I was, and the Board of Education and our treasurer and our great central office staff to be able to recognize so many people. And they said, Tom, don't you think that's a waste of time? And to me, this is what it's about. When you look at the recognition and all of that, and you look at the partnerships, this is what it's all about. And this happens because of the great Board of Education and the support they give for these programs. You know, there's probably nobody more nervous in this entire auditorium than this next person who we're going to recognize. We talk far too often, and I have to tell you, I've seen her leadership from day one that I got here 6 years ago. I told her one time in her office that she was destined for more, and we had long conversations about leadership and what it meant. When you talk about every day not being easy, every day not necessarily always agreeing, or whatever the case is, but I'm very, very proud to recognize Gretchen Tash for being named the 2020-2021 Leader of the Year by the Southwest Ohio Education Association. Let's give her a big round of applause. And as
They want me to talk.
yes, be careful.
Lillian knows me, though, and she asked me anyway, so.
Be careful what you wish for. But Gretchen, if you could talk a little bit about the association and relationships and why you got this award.
Well, you know, it's humbling to have an opportunity to talk about myself. I don't like to talk about myself, but I'm proud to lead the group of people who makes what you see happen across the stage with the kids on a daily basis. It's easy to lead when those that are behind you are of such a caliber as the Princeton Association of Classroom Educators. It is humbling, it's exciting. We have a few more years left together, and then I'll be on the road with the retirees. But having said that, you know, what keeps you, I guess, energized is seeing all of the things that our students are being able to do, and, you know, just empowering is kind of our word. We have a lot of things that we say around Princeton. We talk about the Princeton Advantage and the Viking Diff and all of those things, but empowering the students is what we're charged with. And I take my role as the teacher leader very seriously, and I'm very proud to be able to accept this leadership award on behalf of all of the teachers in the Princeton district that make my job very easy. So thank you.
Again, we have somebody up there accepting an award who's very humble. Any job in leadership is certainly not easy, and it's certainly not easy when you have 450 plus people that you are trying to help, you're trying to nurture, develop, and so forth. But Gretchen has done a great job and continues to do so, and very fortunate to be able to have the relationship that we do with the Board of Education and both of our union presidents, association presidents. I'm going to call up another unbelievable teacher who also has had great work, not only in Ohio, but across the country, Dr. Deborah Jackson, who's going to present, thank you, and assisting Dr. Jackson would be Dr. Jameson. So coming up here, Dr. Jameson. And Dr. Jackson's going to call the names off of the four-year resident educator program recipients. And, you know, way back when, and I know Ms. Wider and Dr. Hawkins went to school to become teachers. And when you went to school to become teachers, you got your certificate, you went into school, perhaps you got some chalk, an eraser, and somebody said, good luck. Well, that's not the way it is anymore. Dr. Jackson?
And I'm very proud of that. I was one of those, I was with them, you know, when you got the chalk, and they said, well, there's your classroom over there. Nobody told you where the bathroom was.
Yeah.
There's your classroom over there. Nobody still told you where the bathroom was. And you were quite frankly left to figure it out. I come from a time where beginning teachers were afraid to ask their colleagues for help. You remember, Lillian. I come from a time where if you asked for help, it showed that number one, you were not qualified, and number two, you could not do the job. So you didn't ask for help. And I'm very, very proud of our Princeton RESA program, as Dr. Jameson well knows. Because you see, we are determined to not only build into our teachers here, we're not only going to show them where the bathroom is, but honey, we're going to show them how to be successful here in Princeton.
And Dr. Jackson, before you start calling the names, if you could have all the resident educators coming up here right there on the side. Thank you very much. All right, go ahead, Dr. Jackson.
I have a whole lot of notes that I've decided I'm not going to do. We're going to call these young people because, as you all know, those of us who were in a classroom went through a year of torment. I think I aged about 50, 100 years instead of one. Every day was different from me. From the time March 13th, 2020 came around down to today, I've been learning something new in an exponential level. But these year 4 people, at the end of at the year of 2020, they just knew that they were coming to me to be mentored, but that was all. And then in August, when Dr. Jameson came on board, we found out we had to have a brand new teacher leadership program, and we kind of looked vacantly at each other. Dr. Jameson, in his scholarship, he's quite a scholarly man, helped us figure out what this program was supposed to look like and to do. We said we weren't going to put a lot of pressure on these year 4s because y'all have been through enough. The kind of program, and part of their requirement was to do a teacher leadership project. Teacher leadership projects build collegiality, it's supposed to foster a culture, it's supposed to advance student learning, but the big thing is it is supposed to help the teacher be responsible in the fact that they are required to grow in their practice. These folks blew our mind quite literally, and I am thrilled to present these young people their certificates. Now, there were 12 of them, and unfortunately, they're doing what we ought to be doing, is like on vacation. So we only have 2 people here tonight, and I know both of these 2 personally because I traveled the road year 1, 2, 3, and 4 with both of these ladies, and I am very, very proud of them. Miss Waller, who was the whatever teacher of the year, Sharon's or teacher of the week. Miss Waller, please come and get your certificate. I'm proud of you. And Jennifer Kuhn, who is a phenomenal music teacher and knows all that technographic stuff. Come on up here, Jennifer. Now, the other people who did not receive their certificates tonight that I'm just tossing through will receive their certificates in the mail. Young teachers, we are proud of you, and we are proud that you are here in Princeton. If it was any closer, it would have slapped me in the face. God bless you.
Future of Princeton right here. Thank you very much. So once again, to everybody being recognized tonight, congratulations, thank you again. Retirees, good luck, Godspeed. And this is also a good time to leave, if you would like to. You can stay, I think we're only gonna be here another couple hours. Oh, you guys wanna leave? Okay.
We thank you very much for joining us this evening. And back to business. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore? Yes. Mr. Simons? Yes. Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder?
Yes.
And the motion passes. Next item of business is district business, and our first agenda item is approval of the May 2021 financial report.
I move to approve the May 2021 financial report.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Ms. Petter, you have comments?
Just one real comment about the monthly report that I just wanted to show you. The local tax effort. We received homestead rollback tax reimbursement in April last year, May this year. That's why you'll see that blip of increase in dollars. But other than that, everything is moving along as projected through the month of May. We also updated all the COVID expenses report for everyone, as we do every month. A change in the report is, it is June, so we have both credit card reports for the April charges and the May charges. Because we fast cycled the May, we would normally present that in, we fast cycled the June, we would normally present that in July, but we want to get everything booked as soon as possible. So you have 2 credit card reports in your packet. But other than that, those are the items from the financial report.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland? Yes. Mrs. Wyder?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes. Motion passes. Next item, approval of transfers and advances.
I move to approve the transfers and advances.
I second it.
The first item, the details in your board docs. The first item is the return of the $8,000 that we had to advance the tournament fund. We received the money the month after the expenses were paid out. OHSAA was a little behind us on the check processing there. And then we have restatement of previous advances to transfers. These are older items, 6+ years old. We had a verbal comment on our audit. This is the proper way to fix that financial statement as directed by the CAFR accountant and the auditors.
Okay, any questions or comments? All right, Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes,
Mrs. Moore?
and that motion passes. Next item is contract with Sidearm Sports.
I move to approve the contract with Sidearm Sports as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Any questions or comments?
Just very quickly, while this is for specifically the design and manage our website for our athletic department, there's also, this is also the arm of ESP Media, and I'm proud to announce in front of everybody here that we will be live streaming sports all over the place. We're going to consistently do that, and I know many of my freshman parent friends are thinking there's not going to be freshman games live streamed. Well, that's not true. We're going to hit every single sports team that we can with ESP Media, and they've agreed to this at no cost, and we're excited about it. There was a small subscription fee, so moms, dads, grandma, grandpas, uncles, aunts, friends that can't get to a game, you could go right on live stream and be able to see them. So we're really proud of that. You'll hear more from Joe Roberts in the athletic department later on. Thank you.
Excellent. Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes,
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
and the motion passes. Next item, membership in the Institute for Education Innovation.
I move to approve the membership in the Institute for Education Innovation 2021-2022.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
This is just a great membership for us to continue to stay not only on the cutting edge, but sometimes define what that cutting edge looks like. And they're a great organization with other partners across the state and actually the globe, and we're excited to be part of them. Thank you.
Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Mrs. Wyder?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes,
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
motion passes. Thank you. Service order with Spectrum Enterprise.
I move to approve the service order with Spectrum Enterprise as presented. Second.
Has been moved and seconded. Comments or questions?
The only thing is, you know, ever since I got here, I've been hearing questions about 25 West Sharon, and after I found it, then I realized there was this great building that used to house Princeton administration. And you will see activity there coming up in the next couple of weeks. A lot of activity as we're moving a couple of our wonderful departments there, which will allow us to have additional space for students downstairs in our incredible innovation center. Thank you.
All right. Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes,
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder?
Yes.
motion passes. Next item, therapy dog program.
I move to approve the therapy dog program at Princeton Community Middle School, year 2021 through 2022 as presented. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Comments?
Yeah, there's a whole lot of discussion that could go on with bringing a dog into school. So I'm going to hit a couple different points, but I would like to, a later point, to have a little deeper discussion, if that's okay with the Board of Education. So just very quickly, we're not the only school district around Cincinnati that's done this. Lakota, Mason, Kings, Xavier. There's also been Hamilton County Educational Service Center has utilized a therapy dog. There's continued to be an increase in this. They're seeing amazing benefits overall because of it. There's also other schools that are in the process of developing partnerships with therapy dogs, including but not limited to Norwood, Northwest, Middletown, Madera, and Lockland. Us actually doing this tonight will put us ahead of other people. And I see Teresa Warren, who is kind of leading this. So right, Teresa, us by moving the way that we're moving methodically, but we're going to end up jumping ahead of other people. There's lots of people in line to do this. Again, great benefit. And I'm going to send a great infographic to the Board of Education here that was created by Teresa Warren, our Director of Special Education. Thank you.
Excellent.
I know we're going to have a further in-depth discussion. Does this include individual dogs, or is this from a program?
Yeah, no, this is specifically dogs that have been trained, and there's so many caveats to this whole thing, but dogs have to go through training. There has to be a handler that's at school that goes through training, where the dog is going to be, how to handle different situations. But again, there's so many different things, like what about kids with allergies? So people that may be watching may be thinking, well, my son or daughter has an allergy. What's going to happen if they're by the dog? Well, there's a process that we need to follow to make sure that we take into account the various needs of students as well. So there'll be a parent and staff informational letter, a waiver. There's going to be lots of information.
This document was attached to your agendas.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
So
I'll send that as well. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes, Motion passes. Approval of Sheridan TIF resolution. I move that we approve the Sheridan TIF resolution and compensation agreement submitted by Springdale.
Second.
Thank you. Moved in second. Comments? Questions?
Mrs. Petter, can you give us a brief synopsis of what the TIF is? So
So-
that everybody knows.
So this is a TIF we vetted quite a bit. The board's attorney has also reviewed this. So this is the property where the former Sheraton Hotel was. It is going to be apartment and townhouse complex with many units. We don't anticipate many students in this complex. They truly expect this to be young professionals and do have multiple bedroom units, but they do think these are going to be people working from home mostly. The location is very appealing for people being close to the interstate, and they anticipate this is something we're going to see more of in our communities. Since some of the buildings that were formerly office buildings also will not have renters in them, so they're looking at housing as an option to generate revenue for their locations. So we might see some more of our communities coming to us with these type of opportunities. And again, they're just trying to build their tax bases, and we just have to wait and see what happens with this very interesting world of the board attorney has vetted it. It is very, very similar to all the compensation agreements. He is aware of what the board expects, and this meets that criteria.
Are these apartments going to be market rate or subsidized?
They are not. They're supposed to be pretty pricey apartments. They do expect it to be single or two income earner units. So at least that's what we're being told. Again, with the proximity to the highway system, they anticipate those that do not work at home will have quick access to workplaces. Apparently, we are a very good location for housing, as all the market research is showing, and we do have more people contacting us, and we'll be bringing additional opportunities to the board.
Other questions? Any comments? Okay. Mrs. Petter, call the roll.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Weider?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes,
Mrs. Moore?
and the motion passes. Our discussion items, academic update.
Sure. During the last meeting, I very briefly, that I attended, I very briefly talked about our increase that we've seen in our AP, our IB, and the numbers for our credit, or College Credit Plus. So I just wanted to just very deliberately go over a couple of those numbers again so that everybody hears, because we're worked really hard. And again, during a pandemic year, this is incredible. So thanks to Tanya Westwright for putting this information together. But for all of our students, which is a subgroup, so all of our students, last year, 2019-2020, we had 266 students that took advanced placement classes. This year, we saw a 41 student increase, or 41 opportunity increase to 307. So that was a really nice increase. And we saw increases actually across all subgroups, with the exception of the Native American or Pacific Islander. We did not see an increase there. It was flat year over year, 2 students in 1922, again in 2021. And then there's a number that I need to double check, but just in full transparency, we saw a downtick in economically disadvantaged students that were taking advanced placement classes. But I need to double check that, but that's on me, nothing that Tanya did. I just need to take a look at that. But we did see, we did not have any English learners or students that had special needs in 1920, but we did in 2021. And so we were really excited about that increase. For International Baccalaureate, we saw a major increase. Again, International Baccalaureate, or IB, if you're not aware of that, is really the global standard for education. If you pass a test in that, it's amazing. It's amazing. Mr. Lockhart, we have that one may not be accurate, so you take that one off, that'd be great. Those numbers may not be accurate. I have the most accurate one that I'll send to the Board of Education, and we'll make sure we post that. But if you look at the International Baccalaureate in 2019, 2020, we had 104 students in our International Baccalaureate classes, and that's a lot of, when you think about this, we have lots of classes. So through the hard work of Tanya West-Wright, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction Assessment, the hard work of Ron Bulmer, the hard work of the counselors, and Dawn Staller, the Associate Principal at the high school as well, and teachers really pushing to have more opportunities for our students. We saw a 92 opportunity increase, which is huge. And again, across the board, increases. So when you look at, we had 44 Black or African American students in 1920. This year, we saw 66. That's a really nice increase. Hispanic population increased by 14. And you look at white population, had a little bit of an increase as well. They increased 20. But again, when you look at just the opportunities that we give here, that the Board of Education supports, that's something that's amazing to see the increase. Now, one of the thoughts, too, that we've had before is that by offering College Credit Plus classes, we would see perhaps a decrease in our IB and AP. Well, the numbers don't warrant that. But it's a thought we've all had. Central office, Board of Education, it's something we've all had. But it is interesting, though, that when you look year over year, we did increase, but the increase in our CCP was not as significant as our increase in our IB or AP. So we did increase 67 students from 279 to 346. But we only saw a couple subgroups that increased. That was it. So our Black or African American subgroup increased by 30. Our white subgroup increased by 60, 64 actually. But we saw the other ones either stay really close to being static or decrease by 7. Our multiracial went from 19 in 1920 to 12 in 2021. So this type of really transparent data is what we need for us to grow. We don't want to see a decrease in our CCP. We want to continue to see an increase with our AP and IB classes, and we're going to continue to push that. The more students that are taking our most rigorous curriculum, the more growth they're going to have. And not that there's not great growth that goes on in other classes, but when you look at ultimately if kids are college bound and they want to do that, we want every single one of our students that is on that trajectory to take an IB, an AP, or CCP class. So we're really proud to offer those opportunities, and that is my report. I'm open for any questions.
What were your numbers, male to female, in terms of maybe were the numbers of girls versus boys, was that steady in terms of the IB or AP?
Yeah,
or was it about the same?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have the subgroups. We don't have it broken down by gender, but I can get that information to the Board of Education. And that's a great question.
And then with the CCP, we had it at one point where by the time a person graduated from Princeton, they could really have all the credits they need to be a sophomore by the time they college. Is that realistic?
This is more, we have so many kids going in their sophomore year. We have one specific program called our Early IT, Information Technology through University of Cincinnati, and every single student that completes that program goes in their sophomore year. We have kids that could really get an associate's degree from Princeton before they even graduate from high school.
And that number of IB grads, it sounded like you said
We have had, I think over the next couple of years, a full diploma IB students, is that you're referring to? Yeah. It's either 5 or 7. Ms. Wright, do you remember what that number is over the next 2 years?
I do not. We're still working on it.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. When I used to work for Cincinnati Public Schools, they used to always brag that they had the only IB program around, but I don't know if they still have it, but I'm awfully proud of the fact that Princeton still has an IB program, which is the equivalent to a high school diploma any place in the world. So it's just outstanding that you have at least 5 graduates.
We literally are the only school in the state of Ohio that offers the academic program we offer. So when people talk about test scores and they talk about, well, geez, my kid can go some other place and your school's better because they get A's or whatever, they don't offer what we offer.
That's right.
And this offering is the Princeton Advantage, which you heard about earlier.
Thank you for that information.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Now we'd like to hear about our ESSER funds, our Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund.
Sure. Jason, if you could pull that one up, that would be great. So when we look at, thank you, when we look at the whole relief plan and spending plans, I think we need to break down a couple things very quickly. There's a lot of money that the state of Ohio has received that they've divvied up and they've sent out to all the school districts in the state of Ohio, some getting more than others. So there's a couple of really key aspects of this. So when you look at this, Ohio received $489 million. That's a big number they received. These funds are used to help state school districts to reopen, to stay open, to make sure that they effectively address significant learning loss, and anything basically to mitigate the impact of COVID-19. Now I'm going to go off just for 1 second, very quickly. You know, for years and years and years, there's been summer slide. There's been learning loss that's happened over the summer. Not just 1 year, but year over year over year over year because of some of the same issues that have plagued our country during the pandemic. Loss of connectivity or no connectivity, loss of jobs. There's a lot of different issues. So I certainly hope that the government continues to fund schools, and specifically those districts where summer slide and learning loss is not just happening because of COVID-19. But when you look at some of the discussion points, we want to think about, like, what was Princeton's allocation? When did the district receive funds? What's the period of time the funds are available? So there's lots of information, but most especially, how are the districts using the funds? So how is Princeton using the funds? So we were awarded X amount of dollars based specifically on Title I allocations under the most recent fiscal year. So the number of students that were identified as being economically disadvantaged. So we were awarded, and that's specifically based on a formula that is based on the census, with poverty, and a variety of other things. So while it is pretty straightforward, it's not, there's some other data points that they don't tell you. Ms. Wright or Dr. Phillips, Ms. Warren or Dr. Jameson, right? They don't tell us they don't tell us how the bread is made, if you will. So when you look at it, we did receive some nice money for ESSER 1. We received $1.5 million, and I'm going to caution every single person who may be watching, who may talk about how we should be spending the money and all that. Trust us, we are doing everything we can to meet the needs of students. Trust us, we're being fiscally responsible. And when we can supplant, because that's legal to do this with this grant, we will do so in the most efficient and expeditious manner so that we can maximize those dollars. Because there is a thought that since Princeton received this money, well, geez, they got all the money they need. Well, we're using this money specifically again, the purpose of this money is to impact and try to negate the negative impact of COVID-19. So ESSER 2, we received $6.1 million, and ESSER 3, ARP, American Recovery Plan, $13.8 million. However, we haven't received all that money yet. We only received 2/3 of that portion. So when you look at, we talked about what's the period of time we have to spend the money by. So ESSER 1 was March 13th of 2020 to September of 2022. So again, that $1.5 million. Now, much of that's already gone, not surprisingly. When you think about ordering PPP, and again, if you guys go back, because I don't want us to forget about the fact that we made a promise to the community, to our parents, to our students, that we were going to keep you safe. So we cleaned at a rate much greater than what was recommended. We wanted to make sure that we had extra masks, that we had gloves, that we had proper supplies, and that's what we did. And that cost money. We also were able to hire a few staff members as well to be able to help with that. So ESSER 2, if you remember, the March 13th, 2020, that's going to stay consistent. The end date for all these is going to change. That's it. So again, ESSER 1, September 30, 2022. ESSER 2, September 30, 2023. And ESSER 3, if you will, or ARP, September 30th, 2024. Now, I will say this, that when we look at appropriate use of funds, I could start talking now and keep you maybe awake, but probably put you to sleep, going through all the different levels. So this is a presentation that the Board of Education will get, that we'd be glad to send out to the community. If there's any questions, we'll be glad to give you those. But there are 12 specific appropriate uses of funds, but they range from purchase of cleaning and sanitizing supplies, what I just said. PPE, made mention of that. To address learning loss due to COVID-19. We have a great, robust summer learning program going on right now. We have over 1,400 students that are taking advantage of, whether they want to catch up, whether they want to advance, or whether they just want learning and exploratory opportunities. So we're really excited about that. So you're darn right we're using the COVID dollars for that, the ESSER funds for that. So Dr. Jameson has done a wonderful job, along with Dr. Phillips and Ms. West-Wright and Ms. Warren and the whole curriculum instruction gang, trying to keep, some type of system with how we're spending money and the specific purpose of why we're spending that money for what. So when you look at, again, a couple of these learning opportunities we have over the summer, all that's happening are with dollars for ESSER 1 or ESSER 2. And again, there's a laundry list of bullet points here, just specifically in human resources. When you look at, and really when you think of human resources, you're thinking about hiring folks, right? Employing folks. That's really what we're talking about. Curriculum instruction and assessment. There's professional development that we need to continue to help learn and grow. There are supplies for intervention instruction. There are secondary textbook replacements, but we're not having these massive textbook adoptions unless we have to do that. We're still looking at supplies. We're looking at different resources, free resources, exploratory resources, what we could do with our Chromebooks, how we could add extensions and so forth. Also, student services, special education, operations, technology. There's lots of different ways to be able to use the funds and different ways that we are using the funds. And lastly, also we could use funds, and we are using funds to communicate. So when you look at some of the great, I've received many compliments about communication over COVID. We've had Q&As, we've sent out letters, phone calls, emails, we tweeted, Instagram, Facebook. There's so many different things that we've done with communication. I'm very proud of that, as I am proud of all the work that we've done with technology and operations, curriculum instruction, human resources, special education, EL, and so forth. It's been amazing. I just wanted to leave this time, again, you guys all have access to this, but I wanted to quiz you guys. What does ESSER stand for? Before I let you ask any questions. Do you know how many people could answer that question? About 2 in the United States. And when you look at, we're so used to these acronyms, so the elementary and secondary school, right, elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds. So ESSER, elementary and secondary school emergency relief. And we added funds because we have fund spending funds. So does anybody have any questions?
I don't think so. You know, it's encouraging to know that the money is still coming in. And I think, again, one of our concerns is, I mean, we need to take care of what's happening right now, but certainly being able to adjust for when the funds end. So, yeah. it's good.
Dr. Hawkins, I'm glad you brought that up. So when you think specifically about this, you guys all heard, so Facebook Live, you guys are hearing this, or you're watching it after the fact. But so 2024, and when you think about those funds being gone, and that's a lot of money, so what are we doing to protect taxpayers' dollars? I think that's a very fair question. Thanks for bringing that up, Dr. Hawkins.
Yeah.
So this is what we're doing. We have a specific plan where we have added staff, but as staff retire, as they maybe take other opportunities, when appropriate, we move them over from ESSER funds to general fund, and we don't replace that other teacher per se, or that other staff member per se, or administrator per se. But we're only when appropriate, and we're appropriate. So we're going to be very deliberate, and thus far we haven't implemented any of that because we haven't had people leave where we feel we can make that adjustment. So that's a great question. Thank you.
Right, it's a concern. It's what we're trying to reach. Any other comments or questions? All right, Treasurer's report.
The biennial budget is moving its way through our legislative process. The House rejected the Senate version. It's no surprise to anyone. I don't know if they've ever accepted each other's versions. So we move on to conference committee, and that process probably will go on for the next couple of weeks. We'll probably get right down to the end of June before they vote on the new biennial budget. It's going to be fun to watch what happens. It's going to be very interesting. It's a very interesting political time in our state, so they're going to have to work through that together. Fiscal year-end closing is just bustling in the treasurer's office, closing out POs, making entries to our books, wrapping everything up, already setting up budgets for next fiscal year also. But just making the board aware that next meeting we'll have that ever-important final appropriation and certificate of estimated resources to be approved, and then that has to be submitted to the county before the end of June. And the final item is I sent each of you the counts. We discussed this in our last work session meeting for preschool and kindergarten. I was going to do 3 years, but they just didn't make any sense until I put those other 2 years in. So I went back to fiscal year 17 and 18 because these last 2 years have been very different than you will see the first 3 years were in those numbers. But you have that information as you requested. And that's all I have.
Any questions or comments about the preschool?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Simons.
Those numbers are revenue numbers, right? That
I'm
you
sorry.
reported to. Those numbers are revenue numbers that you reported to us.
Those are revenue numbers, tuition paid.
Okay, so what is the relevance of the numbers without, let's say, the number of students or maybe the schools if we just have revenue numbers, that doesn't, means one person could have done that amount of revenue, or 100 or 200, we don't know.
I also thought of that as I was doing those numbers today. I've asked the EMIS coordinator to give me enrollment numbers for
Okay,
those
so you're
years
gonna,
also.
you're gonna give us a little update on that.
Absolutely, I
Thank you,
will.
thank you.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Okay. Superintendent's, well, you gave us superintendent's report, right?
Thank you. Thank you. Just a couple of very quick things.
Right, okay.
One, just to let everybody know, obviously, the governor has relaxed and eliminated a lot of the health orders, and so when you're out and about at Kroger or walking outside, or you notice that very few people are wearing masks anymore. So we conducted a survey last week into this week to specifically get input around mask wearing, what's going on, how many people are wearing masks, when they're wearing masks, and so forth. So many school districts, in fact, I was in one today and nobody was wearing masks. Many school districts have eliminated all of the mask wearing. We are not there yet, but we are at a point where if you feel comfortable, and we're doing this slowly, but if you feel comfortable in different environments, and we're asking people if you've received, fully vaccinated, that you could relax some of that. However, we're not ready yet to do it district-wide. We do still feel like this is really important to mask up and stay socially distant, but we're getting data, and that's what we've done the whole time. So you saw tonight, some of our graduates didn't have masks on, and so we're getting to the point right now where we're going to have to really make some decisions moving forward. We do believe that next year we will open up without masks on based upon the current data we have. However, you should anticipate hearing something by the end of the week for the last 2 weeks of summer school. So whether or not we allow the option to wear masks or we keep masks mandatory, we'll let everybody know by the end of this week. If we do ask people to, or give people the option to wear masks, I will tell you right now, I have allergies for whatever reason, I don't know, but if this is flu season and I sound like this, I'm wearing a mask. We learned so much about wearing masks and about the value of them and protecting. I heard such low numbers with influenza this year, it was all but eliminated because of mask wearing. That's it. It makes sense. And so I know that if I'm not feeling well, I'm wearing a mask. Or I may just wear a mask because I feel other people may not be feeling well.
Right.
But it's always going to be an option. I think we have to know that we have to embrace it. And for the kids that may be listening, if your friends are wearing masks, don't bully them and try to get them to not wear a mask. That's their individual choice. You can't take that freedom away. So more information will be coming, forthcoming on that. I want to let you know that a Viking report, the Board of Education, you should be receiving a rough draft by the end of this week or early next week for your purview. Take a look at that. Tricia Roddy has worked so unbelievably hard on that. I tell you, the hardest part of the whole thing is picking what item to eliminate, what picture to not include. Because if we included all the accolades, if we included all the pictures, Miss Roddy, how many pages?
24 pages.
It would be 24 pages with like a 2-point font. It's great to have that. So we do involve a lot of people to let the Board of Education know. We involve building principals. We involve all the central office folks. Obviously the Board of Education too, because you're going to receive this. There's a couple different items that are big items that you will see front and center, as they should be. Different recognition that we received across the district. I wanted to personally thank Teresa Warren, who did one of the presentations tonight, prepared a lot of data for me regarding Therapy Dog. Tanya Westwright for getting the IB and AP together. Mary Phillips for the ESSER funds, who I know worked collaboratively with Chris, as well as Dr. Jameson. Because when I'm around, when I walk around, I hear all the time, and I've said this to administrators and also teachers, that I hear that job that I did, that Tom Burton did, and that's unfair. That's unfair. I know what people mean. It's not me. it's Princeton. But sometimes they say that. And without exception, I always give credit to the team. It is about the team. And there's that old acronym, together everyone achieves more, and which is so true. But there's the great work that is being done. And the number one concern that we have, that I have as a leader of the district, is that our principals, our directors, our assistant superintendents, our coordinators, our teachers, our staff members, our bus drivers, take the time they need to recharge. This school year didn't start in August. We know that, right? It didn't start in August. It didn't start March 13th either. It started the following August in 19. It's just never stopped. Because last summer, we got it done. There was so much work, and there was stress, pressure, anxiety every day. And so this is a long run we've had. We need to recharge, and we need to reboot, and we need to get ready because we have some big work we need to do next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? All right. Well, at this time, at 7:47 p.m., I move that we go into executive session under sections 12122G1 to consider the promotion or compensation of a public employee as part of the Ohio Revised Code. It has been moved and second. Mrs. Petter, please call the roll.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder?
Yes.
Dr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore? Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Motion passes. There will be no action taken after the executive session, but we will return to adjourn. Thank you all for being here.
I know,